This is my review of Star Trek Picard, Episode 9, titled Vox, Season 3, the final season. And wow, what a emotional episode on all kinds of levels. Now, first of all, before we carry on, I do want to apologise for the sound of my voice. Currently recovering from the flu. I did have a sore throat, which is kind of dissipated, but now it's gone into a blocked up nose now. So I do apologise if I sound muffled or any dry coughs along the way. So hopefully by episode 10, which will be the final episode of season 3, should have my voice back, so everything should be a little bit more coherent. And obviously we start off. We pick up from the previous episode where Vidic gets killed or to her demise, and now we've now the old gang back together again, obviously with Data and Deanna Troy. Now Deanna Troy can use her Betazord abilities to try and find out what's going on with Jack and what's beyond the red door. So anyway, Jack is scared of opening the door, so Deanna Troy decides to go with him in his mind to find out what's behind the door. Now, this episode might contain minor spoilers, which I'm trying to keep to a minimum, but some of it I will have to spoil in tiny bits so that you get a better context of the narrative of the story. And then all of a sudden, she wakes up from obviously reading his mind, and then runs off and then apologises to Jack. She then goes to see Picard and Beverly Crusher, and then proceeds to tell them as to what she saw. And then we find out that what's behind Jack's abilities, as a lot of fan theories were going about. Some were saying the power raves, and there were some saying that the actual Borg were behind all this, and lo and behold, that is the case. Now, the stuff with Jack links back to, obviously, with Jean-Luc Picard, who was assimilated by the Borg as Locutus of Borg. And then we find out the reason as to why they needed Picard's body and obviously Jack's abilities. And obviously the normal thing with when Borgs assimilate other species, they usually use nanoprobes, but now they found a organic way of kind of doing it. And considering that that Picard was assimilated, obviously he didn't think he had any nanoprobes in him, but obviously they've used an organic version of this, and and then as we know that Picard had an illness, which obviously we find out now has been misdiagnosed, and that is linked to the Borg. Obviously, when you watch the episode, it will go into more detail. Jack is then totally unaware of what's kind of going on because no one's telling him anything, and then Picard goes to see him, and then Picard pretty much tells him about his experiences of what the Borg did and what they did to him, and the way they stripped away his humanity and made him do things that he didn't want to do. And obviously Jack then works out kind of what's kind of going on, and then obviously they want to keep him somewhere safe, but obviously Jack, being very impulsive, decides to use his powers to escape, and obviously he's gonna try and face the Borg on his own, which we know is never a good idea. Obviously now it's Frontier Day, and obviously they decide to go back to with the crew of the Titan to try and warn the other members of Starfleet. Meanwhile, Beverly, Geordi, and Data finally work out what the Borg's master plan is, and obviously they've teamed up with the Changelings to get obviously revenge. So you could argue that this is kind of another follow up to Star Trek First Contact. Obviously they're still pissed about what happened. So now obviously they want revenge, and obviously we've teamed up with the Changelings to obviously because of the Federation. And as for Beverly, Geordi, and Data work out what's going on, and obviously as to why they needed Picard's body, and the so-called illness he thought he had, and also the actual transporter system, in terms of using this as a way of taking over Starfleet, which is quite ingenious in the way that they've gone about, or they're going to go about doing this. We see a very familiar face. Now, I won't say who the character is, but if you watch the parts 1 and 2 of The Best of Both Worlds, you'll recognize this particular commander, and it's the same actress playing it. So, obviously, we see the Enterprise F, which is cool. But then, obviously, they have this new system where they can control the ships as if by one mind, which sounds very much like the Borg, and already that doesn't sound like a good idea. Then, obviously, meanwhile, Jack thinks he can destroy the Queen. Obviously, that doesn't work, and then he gets plugged into the hive mind. So it's really interesting as to what happens there. Where it can be as simple as him being taken over by the Queen, and will he still have his own will to sit there to fight the Queen? Obviously, Picard did with Locutus, so it's going to be interesting as to whether Jack will be able to do this. Obviously, with Frontier Day going on, obviously this is the perfect opportunity for the Changelings and the Borg now to destroy the Federation in one foul swoop. The USS Titan obviously gets caught up in it now, because obviously the system's computers are all linked. And then obviously with what Beverly and Geordi and Data found out with the transport systems, now the crew are infected, but it only affects people up to a certain age, which I don't know if it's if they just made up on the spot, or if it's just very convenient. Although they do explain why, but it just seemed to me a little bit convenient. And then obviously, with our older crew, obviously they don't get affected, and then obviously they don't want to kill the infected crew, but obviously the infected crew want to kill the people who they can't assimilate. Again, something happens with two familiar faces. That's for one I've mentioned, and another particular character which I don't want to kind of mention, don't want to spoil it because it'll be a good giveaway, but in terms of the event and sacrifices, it was very emotional in terms of what happened. And basically the crew basically realized that they can't win because of the ship obviously has been taken over. So they managed to escape. They go back to the museum, and then the only way for them to combat this threat would be to use a ship that is not affected. And I won't spoil this, but we get to see a very familiar ship. There's even a little joke about the Enterprise E, and everybody looks at Worf, and then Worf said it's not my fault. Now something tells me that he either damaged it or destroyed it, but I've heard that this kind of happens I don't know if it's in the novels or in the comics or on Soul, but I'm sure people will be able to find that out. Again, I was just, as I said before, this particular scene in what we see that is very familiar. For those of you who watch The Next Generation, you'll know what I'm talking about when you actually see the last 5 minutes of this episode. For me, again, it was very emotional and brought a kind of a tear to my eye in seeing this particular scene. There is a little bit of a link to Star Trek Generations. For those who've seen that movie, and you'll know kind of what happened in that something major happened in that particular movie, which ties into the final scene. And again, as I said before, very emotional in terms of what happened. To me, I actually had a tear to my eye. Obviously seeing of this particular thing that happened, and seeing the old crew back together again, it was just very nicely done. And you can tell that the showrunner, Terry Matalas, is definitely a huge Star Trek fan, and to me, the amount of fan service that he's done in this episode and in all the episodes that we've seen up until episode 9 has been kind of really great, because sometimes you can do a show or a movie and you can be like very nostalgic, and you can be almost too nostalgic in a way, and it kind of overpowers the story and the narrative of the particular movie or TV series episodes that you're trying to watch. But to me, it did it justice. And as I've said, that my greatest fear was obviously with this being 10 episodes, and would they be able to carry the momentum from start to finish? And so far, I can happily say that this has been the case, where there hasn't really been a weak episode at all. Each episode has felt like a big blockbuster movie in terms of the actual special effects. I would even say that I think that it looks as good as the Next Generation movies, maybe even better, in the sense that the special effects have obviously moved along since those movies, and obviously the push to like digital filming now, and obviously people being able to watch things on HD, is it 1080p TVs or even 4K TVs. So now you're actually seeing the actual quality of the actual episodes. They're basically like mini movies in themselves. And to me, if you was to put this up against, say, First Contact or even Generations or even Nemesis or Insurrection, to me it looks just as good, or if not even better, in my opinion. The actual sound and the musical motifs that they've used in all the episodes so far, I've hit the heartstrings, in my opinion, with the mixture of the Next Generation themes from the main theme to Star Trek First Contact, that theme, and the themes from like the original Star Trek series, even like the transporter sounds that they use, and all the tricorders or the phasers, and or even like musical motifs from the Star Trek, like the Star Trek motion picture or the Wrath of Khan on Star Trek 6. You've heard it all interwoven into the actual episodes, and it's fit perfectly in terms of what they've done. Obviously, with this being the final season of Picard, I really do hope that Paramount will listen and takes on board in terms of the fans' love for season 3 of Picard, and will give us another legacy series based on any of the legacy characters. I'm hoping they do this. Now, I have heard that this will be based upon the viewer, the amount of how high the viewers figures are going to be for the actual episodes and for the series itself. So the more that people watch and the higher it gets, the more likely it is that we will get one. Again, Paramount would be stupid not to use this crew, or even crews from the Voyager series, or even the Deep Space Nine series. What I will say, that Enterprise does get a little nod here, which is obviously set before the Kirk episode, and that was kind of a nice little nod there, that Star Trek Enterprise hasn't been forgotten. I've been a tiny bit disappointed that we haven't seen any Deep Space Nine characters again. Who knows, with there being one episode left, we might just get to see, maybe some more cameos, because there have been cameos that haven't even been leaked, and we actually have seen them. We did see Tuvok, or the Changeling version of him, and then appear in the episodes a couple episodes ago. And I do know that Tim Russ, who also plays Tuvok, did say that he was appearing in 2 episodes. So we've seen him in 1, and we haven't seen him in episode 9, and with episode 10 being the last one, I'm hoping that we do see him in there and they don't do anything dumb and get rid of him. Same thing with the legacy cast, because I would hope to sit there and see them again in other Star Trek iteration series, and obviously hope they don't kill off Data, because now the way they brought him back, and in a new way, and in a way a new Data, but the old Data, and then now they can show that the fact that he's aged, because obviously the actor's aged, and the way they've done it that they won't, do anything dumb and kind of get rid of him. But so far, as I said, I really enjoyed Star Trek Picard. They did say it was going to go out with a bang with this particular season. As well, didn't mind the first two seasons, though they weren't great. But season 3 is definitely has gone all out in giving us Star Trek fans, especially the next generation fans like myself, what we wanted from the very beginning in seeing our legacy crew, our next generation crew back in the fold again. So yeah, I'm looking forward to episode 10, which is going to be the final episode, and it's going to be interesting on how they wrap up the episode, especially with the Borg and the Changelings now seem to have the upper hand in terms of controlling the Federation and wanting to destroy the Federation. So it's going to be interesting on how they deal with it. But something tells me somehow that it's going to involve obviously Data, because obviously he's got obviously his brain, but I think it's going to involve Beverly Crusher, because obviously what's happened with her son. And I don't think we've lost Jack, so I think he's going to be involved in terms of what's going to be solving this problem. And obviously Picard, because the one thing that we do know about with all villains is that they always get a bit too cocky, and they'll always underestimate, should I say, the good guys, and then become too overly confident in thinking that they've accomplished their mission, and then it ends up them not being the case. But again, as I said, the way they dealt with Picard's illness, which we saw in All Good Things, and then in the season 1 of Picard, and then the way they've kind of explained that it wasn't all in terms of what we thought it was, that the illness that he was afflicted with, and as to why it was no accident, as to kind of what happened, or maybe a possible side effect. But again, as I said before, if you watch this episode, you'll know exactly, the episode explains exactly what's happened and what's kind of going on. We do hear a very familiar face. All I will say is Star Trek First Contact, and I'll let your brains do the talking. Now, what I will do is I will upload this video in the next couple of days, because obviously, of all these tiny little spoilers, and I haven't spoiled the majority of what's happening there, I do at least want people to at least have the first couple of days to actually watch the episode for themselves before I post it. What I will do is in the title of the episode, when I upload this to my YouTube channel, I will obviously say that this will contain minor spoilers, so just in case people haven't watched it. But I will assume that by now, when this is uploaded, people will have seen this episode. So yeah, extremely fantastic episode. The episode just go from strength to strength. Again, as I said, very nostalgic, very emotional episode, brought a little tear to my eyes at certain things that happened throughout the episode, especially the ending as well. And all I can say is roll on episode 10, which will be the final episode of season 3 of Picard, and then that's going to be it with the Picard series. So yeah, it's bittersweet in a sense that we're going to get like a finale, but then it's at the same time, it's almost like I don't want it to end. And obviously, as people know, that Star Trek Strange New Worlds, I think season 2 starts in May sometime, so at least we've got some Star Trek goodies to look forward to, and then and the other Star Trek shows to slowly come towards the end of the year. And then obviously we've got Star Trek Starfleet Command showing up in 2024. So yeah, looking forward to episode 10, but at the same time not looking forward to it, because obviously it's going to be the last episode. So catch me back in a week and I'll give you my review of episode 10. So I hope people enjoyed this video. So speak to you all in soon next week.